Hey you guys, welcome back to another video. Hopefully everyone is doing well. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Tracy. I make faith-based content along with motivational videos for those who are on their spiritual journey and their walk with God. Just giving you guys some tips along the way, things that I've learned to try to help give back, motivate you guys. So this is what this channel is about. Anyhow, so on today's video, I want to talk a little bit about trusting God and how that may look like. And in different seasons, it depends on actually which season you are at in your journey. It's going to look different. It's going to look different. But specifically in regards to where you started your journey, and you yourself don't even know where you're going. You yourself don't even know how it's going to look like. You yourself don't even know how things are all going to work itself out and things are going to come together, and then you're going to see a transformation within yourself or a transformation in your life. So it's in that process that you learn to trust God along the way. So you guys, I don't know how you guys are. I don't know if this may even be relatable to you, but I know for myself, I grew up in a sense, especially when I got to of age of being able to move out and being able to kind of set my own path, start life, start making my own decisions. So I'm a person, I moved out when I was 19 with my twin sister. Did we know about life? Absolutely not. Were we prepared for life? Not at all. Not at all. But the beauty in that is that I also had my sister with me, and so the burden of doing things on your own, you didn't necessarily feel it. And we were younger, so we could take chances, we could take risks, and that's what we did. And so we learned a lot along the way. Now, looking back in hindsight, was it the best decision? Probably not. Probably not. However, it was a decision that was needed based on our upbringing and based on the challenges in our household at the time. So we had to make a decision. We moved. So we did that. So at a very early age, at a very young age, I was the type of person that was used to doing things my own way, setting goals, going towards them, making my own decisions, and that was that. So, in one of my previous videos, I said that I grew up in church. I grew up going to a Catholic church. So, the concept of being in tune with God wasn't so far fetched to me. I've always had a connection to God, but it felt, even now when I'm looking back, it felt like it was very surface level. Like, God just helped me in this particular circumstance. It felt very transactional. So, not so much deep intimacy relationship with the Lord like how I have now. So, and that's how I started life. And so, going through life, navigating it, making decisions, some good, some bad, but nonetheless, just keep moving forward. And that's what I've done. Um, so until I got to the space where I actually truly started to pay attention to God, and I really got into that space where, okay, God was trying to get my attention. And a lot of the times, I don't know about you guys, like I said, but for me, it came through when my last serious relationship came to a head, separated, went our separate ways. And that for the first time was when I felt like, okay, God, what are you trying to say to me? What is it that I need to know? What is it that I need to hear from you? And I remember it was a few weeks after my ex and I had went our separate ways. Um, it wasn't an amicable breakup, but that's not what this story is about. went on vacation. It was for a wedding. And I remember the last day, I went to Turks and Caicos for my aunt's wedding. And on the fifth day, when we were supposed to be coming back, I decided, okay, let me walk on the beach. Let me go out for a walk. I wanted to take in the sunrise, just kind of soak in the environment, the waves, just that peace and tranquility at 5 in the morning. And I still remember to this day because this was 2019. This was October 2019, and going out for a walk. And I remember I got to a certain point on that walk along the beach where it was almost like a reckoning. It was almost like a reckoning. So I remember even a couple of days prior to that last day being in the water, being in the ocean, and the waves just coming up against me and toppling me over. I was getting knocked around. I know the water over by Turks, it's like extremely salty, very beautiful, but it was very rough. And I remember wrestling with it. I remember that feeling like, God, man, like, what is going on? Like, why can't I catch myself? I'm trying to stand up, and every time I try to stand up in the ocean, it's just another big wave comes and crashes against me, and I'm toppling over. And I was getting very, very frustrated. And I remember that time, and I remember thinking, I feel like, Lord, you're trying to talk to me. You're trying to tell me something that, you know what? This is an opportunity that, guess what? Things are not going to go your way. I know you're used to things going your way because whenever you put your hand to something, you make it work. Things turn to gold, things work in your favor. You've been doing that since you're 19. You've been doing that on your own. But guess what? At this particular time, I was 33, and the Lord in that instant was trying to show me, yeah, guess what? I'm taking you in a different route. It's not going to go your way. It's going to get rocky. You're going to get knocked down. You're not going to like the feeling. I was like, okay. And I sat with it. And then, of course, the wedding happened. It was such a beautiful time. And then it got to the last day, the fifth day that we were in Turks, and I had to come back. But before I came back, like I said, I was walking on the beach in the morning, and I had that moment where I had a reckoning, and I stopped. And I remember thinking to myself, saying to God, okay, God, I'm ready. I am ready. When I get back home, I know there's lots of stuff. There's lots of stuff that I need to address. There's lots of stuff that I need to finally pay attention to. Um, I need to even give you my time. I need to set aside time with you, God, just to even get to know my Creator. And I said, okay, I'm ready. Did I know? Did I know what that meant? Absolutely not. But I had this strong internal knowing that that's what it was, and that's where I needed to go. And so I was like, okay, let's do this when we go back home. So, like I said, I was 19 when I moved out. And now I'm 33 at this time when this happened. Um, and when I came back home, that's when I realized the magnitude of my situation, the magnitude of what God was trying to do in my life, in my season. Did I like it? No, not at all. You see, I was the type of person that I felt a lot of pain. I grew up with a lot of trauma. Hence why I had to leave at the age of 19, and a lot of chaos. And I felt leaving home at that time, it would have given me the opportunity to finally put myself in the driver's seat. I wanted to have the control of my destiny. I wanted to have the control of being able to make my own decisions. Nobody telling me what to do, nobody bringing chaos into my life. And that's how I wanted to live. Now, of course, start life. You meet people along the way, and without a framework, without true guidance, without true knowledge and understanding, um, and just even having the ability to unpack things that what you went through as a kid and all that trauma, you make decisions out of a place that's not whole, out of a place that's not healthy, and you choose partners unbeknownst to you that are similar, that you're used to. So, and that's what happened. That's what happened. So now, again, fast forward, 33, had to come and face my reality, coming back home. And for the first time, I felt like, Trace, you're not running away. You can't run away. This is the opportunity that God has for you. This is where God is wanting you to sit in right now. See, I had a tendency of running away from pain, running away from things I didn't like. So even like relationships, relationships. Things got really, really rocky. Um, and I would find a way to run away. And for me, how it looked like, um, bury my head in work. So workaholic. And I always found a way to escape situations, escape things that I didn't want to deal with. Even just escaping the internal feelings that I had. Um, Getting to the bottom of my own pain and my own trauma and how that manifested in my life, and running away even from trying to get therapy, just running away from it. And I always thought that I was fine, I can do it, I'm able to do it. I'm getting rewarded um, by being this perfectionist. I'm getting rewarded at work. Um, Finished school. By the time I finished school, I was pregnant. With my daughter at the time, finished school, proved to myself that I can do it. Challenging times wasn't an issue for me because I was so used to it growing up. And then landing my first job as a dental hygienist, landing that first job, doing well, moving on. And then by the time, I think 4 years into that career, I moved to a different location. Um, and then working still a little bit in hygiene, getting into the corporate world and doing really well in the corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder. So I was used to that. I was used to being able to avoid the struggles that I had going on internally and with the relationships that I had at the time, and just really focusing it on in work. And that's a pattern that I noticed that I also did when I was a teen, when I was growing up. So, as a way for me to cope with a lot of stuff that was going on at home, I would just pour myself into school, and I excelled in school. So, to me, I never saw that as a problem, didn't see it as a problem until the Lord sat me down and was like, no, you're going to go back, you're going to face your problems, and you're going to deal with it, and you're not going to run away. And for the first time, I felt out of control, but I'm in control at the same time because I knew this time I wasn't doing it in my own will. I knew this time it wasn't something I would have chosen for me, but I knew that I had said, okay, God, whatever it is, I'm ready. Let's do this. Not knowing what it was. So I had to trust the process. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy at the beginning, but I knew I had to trust. And that was my very first instance at learning how to trust God. Because it wasn't always apparent that God is in control. It wasn't apparent Because especially when you start facing yourself and you start really truly peeling back the layers. And at the time I'd started to recognize, wait, God is healing me. God is slowly revealing certain things to me, and I'm getting the knowledge that I never had before growing up, even in my 20s, because now I'm 33 at the time. And yeah, things are changing for me. My season was changing. Although at the time, I now am single, now have 2 kids. Um, it looked different. It really looked different, and I think I didn't even realize that I had issues with trust, and that's stemmed from childhood. But I also had to realize that, okay, in this particular season, God's also wanted me to trust Him, and that takes time. And I had to trust Him with myself, with my surrender, with the situations, and that's how we started. And now, when I fast forward 7 years later from that first initial time, I still see how God is in the situation. I still see how God is wanting me to continue trusting Him. I still see um, the many times I have to surrender, the many times that I have to surrender. Because, especially like for those of you who are, I was going to say independent, but for those of you who are used to doing things on your own, and this is something that you've been conditioned to do, conditioned to be just from childhood, it takes a while, especially when you start healing from this. It takes a while, and it's a journey, it's a process to unlearn all of that, because it's a survival coping mechanism that you needed at that time, right? So now God's been walking me through this season of showing me that I don't need to be like that. I don't need to be so controlling. I don't need to be in control of situations. Yes, there's certain things that I'm absolutely in control of, but where it matters, where God's in control, no. God's telling me, okay, get out of the driver's seat, shift yourself over, and now you're going to walk at my pace. And I had to learn to trust that. And so, like I said, this has been a journey of walking with God for 7 years. And I want to say it even started before, but the awareness wasn't started. The awareness wasn't really true. It was slowly starting. Um, but I truly believe that certain things had to disappear from my life. Certain things that relationship also, certain relationships actually, a few of them had to go. Relationship, friendships, even work dynamics, relationships with family members, things had to shift in my life. And once I surrendered all of that to God, then I was able to hear God more and more. At the time when I was going through it, it felt very painful. It felt like, God, this doesn't feel like you're in control. It doesn't feel like you have a plan. But again, like I said, it's a process, and God is so patient with you to get you to a space until you feel comfortable. Because also, for those of you who have had a traumatic upbringing, you know trust doesn't come easily. The only person you probably trust is yourself, because you know you're the one that's in control. You're the one that's going to get the outcomes. But when it comes to trusting others, it's not that easy. So God is aware of that. And God's also stepping into that to heal that, to help you along in your journey. And so grateful for that. So grateful for that, because there's been many times where I've noticed, especially when the Lord is requiring you to surrender parts of yourself, parts of your life. I had kids, so even surrendering my kids, how I parent, finances, all to God, careers. goals, friendships, family dynamics, like everything. I had to surrender it all. Surrender it all. And you can't do it all at once because it's very overwhelming, but it's slow steps and it takes years. And like I said, it's a process. And along the way, I've noticed things come up, challenging times come up, trials come up, um, setbacks come up. And now I'm in a space where I can understand that no, those are just opportunities for me to continue to lean even more closer to God. And that's what God may be doing with you. Just that encouragement for those who are struggling to trust, to see God's goodness in everything. I know sometimes it may feel like God is silent, God is distant. You can't see how things are all going to come together. You can't even see the growth. You may not even feel it. But just know it's at work. It's similar to like plants. Those who ever planted flowers, especially like vegetables, fruits, you may not necessarily see. You don't get to see when the plant is growing. You don't get to see underneath the soil. You don't get to see the roots that's actually forming, taking root, getting longer. And that's how God is too. God is working beneath the surface to make sure that everything is getting worked out, solidified in you. So it's a process. And all God needs you to do is just continue to trust and continue to surrender where God wants you to surrender. And like I said, it could be for any different area of your life. For me, it just happened to be a complete transformation. And it's just in relationships, in career, in health, finances, hobbies, friendships, love, like all that complete transformation. And at the beginning, like I said, when I had to come back from that trip, come back from Turks and Caicos, and I actually had to start doing the work. It was the hardest work ever, especially when I recognized, and God is so gentle with it, and bringing things to my awareness that, you know what, this foundation, the things that you've been running on, the things that you thought were good for you, um, actually isn't that good for you. The things that you started to build your life and your thought process and how you see things, your perspective is actually not the correct one. So guess what? We're going to have to start over. We're going to have to tear this thing completely down and start over. Now, was I upset? I was extremely upset. I was extremely frustrated. I spent a lot of years feeling guilty. I spent a lot of years feeling frustrated, upset, bitter, angry. And even that, I had to also surrender all of that to God and let God work on my heart, my emotional state, my mindset. Um, yeah, because it was rough. It was rough, especially when you get to a place where you now actually have to put yourself in the hot seat, where you now actually have to start doing some work and reflecting, and you actually have to start looking back. You have to pay attention to, okay, your childhood. You have to start paying attention to your adulthood. You have to start paying attention to the decisions that you made. And then when I slowly started to connect the dots and realize, wait, hold up, this ain't working. This is not working. None of this is working. And I just got to the complete end of myself. And I was like, okay, God, I don't even know how to fix this. I know I thought I can do things. I thought I can make decisions. I thought I had an understanding of life. I knew it was just going through life and learning along the way. No, it was, I guess it was very arrogant of me, but I guess it was also that thinking in that, you know what, God, nothing has been easy. I am used to being pushed into the deep end and then learning how to swim. And guess what? I've done it before. I'm going to continue to do it this way. And that's working. Until I got to that space where I'm telling you, when I had to come back, God sat me down. And it's like, yeah, but is it effective? Is there not a better way? And that's when I started to ask questions. Okay, God, if my way has not worked, what is it then? What do I need to learn from you? What do I need to learn? And that's when, we started going through step by step the process. And just, having that humbling moment of realizing that you actually don't know anything. You weren't taught anything. You don't even have the foundation. You don't even have the knowledge for that. So how can you possibly build something and think that it's actually going to stand and actually stand the test of time? Because that was the issue. So with my first relationship, that didn't work out. 7.5 years didn't work out. And that was in my 20s. And I'm wondering, okay, why it's not working out? Okay, didn't really pay much time or effort into thinking as to, okay, what were the issues? And then I was like, okay, let's move on. Move on to the next relationship. Now I'm in my late 20s. Actually, no, early 20s. And that relationship lasted 10 years. And then I'm starting over again. So started over the first time in my 20s. Mind you, I've already left home at 19. So starting over the first time didn't work out. Didn't work out. I'm like, okay. Now, second relationship, and now I'm 33, and again, another 10 years now, it didn't work out. And you really have that humbling moment where it's like, oh, okay, something's not right. So I had to literally turn to God, humble myself, and recognize that, first of all, I can't even do any of this on my own. I can't. So I had to trust God. And even when God was putting me in situations where I had to completely dismantle everything that I had built, everything that I thought I wanted, every goal that I thought I wanted to continue to pursue. And trust me, and it's not to say that I didn't try. And it's not to say that I didn't continue to wrestle. Oh my goodness. If being in Turks and wrestling with the wave wasn't an indicator as to what was going to happen with me, like I didn't clue in at the time. But even when I came back, my goodness, the amount of times I had to wrestle, the amount of times I was bargaining with God, the amount of times I'm like, God, this is painful. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. This is not what I want, especially when God is telling me, step away from your career. I'm like, God, no. I've worked hard for this. The one thing I prided myself on that no one could take away from me was my education, the work ethic, the job titles that I've earned. And now you're telling me now to walk away from it? No, God. And then wrestling like, I don't think I heard right. I don't think I heard right. This can't be. Because God, how are you telling me to walk away now when this is my livelihood? This is what I need to support myself and my two kids and what am I going to do? Trust. That was one of my first lessons. And it's like, wait, what? Not expecting this. Not expecting it. But still went with it. And I was a type of person that when God is trying to get through to me and I'm not hearing, I'm not listening, I'm still wrestling, trying to still get things my way or trying to prolong it because I'm emotionally connected. It has to be so uncomfortable, the environment. People have to start changing in order for me to now recognize, oh, this is not where I'm supposed to be. So it has to become so uncomfortable. So there's two ways. And again, when you start your journey, and even if I'm not sure if you guys have already been on this journey and you may understand this a little bit, but When God starts really trying to guide you and really trying to get you to trust Him and get you to surrender, there's two ways. And it may look different to you, but for me, there's two ways how God gets my attention. Things get so insufferable. Like I said, people around me start changing. The environment starts becoming a little bit more toxic. It's just now my peace, the peace. And I used to think that, okay, my peace is not here. I'm like, something is going on. Yeah, God's peace isn't here anymore. God's peace. And now it's for you to recognize that, hold on, God's no longer in this. But I didn't know at the time, I was still struggling. So things had to get really uncomfortable for me. And then I'm like, okay, God, I hear you. What are you trying to tell me? When it gets really uncomfortable, I start to feel a pain. And then the second way, financially. Sometimes, especially at the beginning, now I'm like, okay, God, I sit with you. I'm trying to hear you. I'm trying to understand. Okay, I just need a little more confirmation. Okay, this is what it is. Got it. But at the beginning, no, 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 no. I'm like, God, no, maybe it's me. Maybe I should give it more time. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not seeing things correctly. Maybe I've just misjudged. Maybe things can work out. Maybe if I change this, again, like I said, a lot of bargaining with God at the beginning. Yeah. So if that doesn't work, God finds a way financially. Financially, things come up that gets my attention. So it's like the peace, I no longer feel a peace, or things that happen financially that usually gets my attention. I'm like, okay, God, what's up? Okay, what's up? Let me get back into my prayer closet. Let me really try to understand what's going on here. So those are my ways. But for you, like I said, I'm going to encourage you guys to really develop that. I'm going to encourage you guys to really sit with God, really just start to train yourself to be quiet, quiet your mind, even if you have to learn meditation, you have to do a little bit of breath work. I started to do, especially at the beginning, I was doing mindfulness exercises because, especially, like, I had a tendency, and this is unique to me. This might not be your situation, but for me, um, I had always wanted to escape. I had also always wanted to avoid the situation that I was in or anything that I was going through at the time. So I had to learn how to become mindful of the present now. And so I had to, it's like a muscle. I had to learn, I had to practice, I had to develop that. And eventually I learned to get comfortable with sitting. And for me at the beginning, it looked like journaling. It looked like reading my Bible. It looked like slowing down, just spending time in nature. Like, even like you see me outside, like sitting outside, watching the birds, pondering, thinking, like just really slowing down so I can actually hear and clear my mind. So that's how it looked like for me. Um, so yeah, that was the first instance of trust. And this was like not too long after I came back from that trip. And then it was slowly friendships afterwards. And it's like, okay, God, you're telling me, okay, slowly start to distance yourself from this friend. Slowly start to distance yourself from this one. It's like, but why, God? I don't understand. And like I said, it's a process. And then it was family. And then I'm starting to feel a little bit isolated. And then I'm like, okay, what's going on here now? Because now things are starting not to make any sense. Um, but when there's quiet, when God finally gets you to a space where you trust Him and you're quiet enough, God starts to reveal more and more things to you. Because God sees, okay, you're walking in step with me. Okay, you're trusting me. Okay, let's do this. And there were still instances, I think there was two more occurrences afterwards where, actually, you know what? Yes, actually, I've noticed a pattern within myself. Anytime I have walked away from certain things, I have always gone back. like I said, even if it was work, if it was the corporate world, I've gone back because there's a point in time, especially when you're going through isolation, where it feels like you feel very lonely too. But that also revealed to me that there was still some trust issues that I had there with God. There was still things that I couldn't necessarily see how God was working things out. And the same thing for you, but it's the trust. Trust that there's a reason why God brought you out of certain things. So if God is taking you out of certain places, certain things, certain friendships, certain relationships, certain environments, stay out. Just take it from me, because I had to learn the hard way. Went back, and it's even with friendships, like going back, like, okay, God, let's give this a try. Let's see. Only to realize in the end, like, no, God, you were right the first time. You were right the first time. I didn't see those things that I still needed to work through. I had attachment issues, going through some loneliness, still not truly fully trusting God because I can't see things, still having control issues. So I had to work that out. God had to work that out. It's a process. And then slowly, as I'm walking in step with God, and I'm learning to understand Him and obey Him more and more, um, the next thing I noticed was that the trials all of a sudden got harder. And it's situations that I've never dealt with before. And I'm like, oh, okay, God, this is different. So even in this season now, where we finally had a groove, where I finally am surrendering, I'm understanding what you're saying, I'm trusting you, we're going along. And now, when I finally get to a place where I feel comfortable, it's as if more pressure arises, more challenges, more trials come in, and that's just more and more reasons and ways that God is showing you you can trust me here. And like I said, it was one by one different area of my life. And it could be the same thing for you. Different area of your life. I don't know where you are at in your journey. But if you're starting to, I'm hoping that you can start to see some patterns, how God does things and how God works on, especially when it's complete transformation and it's wholeness that God is trying to bring you to. You'll have to go through a process, and every area of your life will have to get worked through. There's nothing that you can avoid. Like I said in one of my previous videos, I think one of the shorts, that um, you can't run from a storm. You can't run from a challenge. You could try, but the only how you're gonna get past it is going through it. And that's what I had to learn, is going through it. And it's amazing because, like I said, different areas of your life, love, health, finances, career, family, friends, leisure activities, your religion, your faith, um, all of that gets worked out. All of it. Especially if you're like, you also have to go back and you got to heal from some stuff. Best believe God's going to be there too. And you got to trust God with that. And that's one thing I had to learn. Did it come easy to me? No. But what I've also learned is trust is something that once you allow yourself to truly embrace, and once you allow yourself to give it a try, it's like a muscle. It gets easier and easier every time you work it out. Every time. So when you're going through it, when you're going through the storm, when you're going through the testing, when you're going through the trials, when you're going through the pressure, the dismantling, unlearning, relearning, putting more blocks to build back up that foundation with God, um, letting go of people, letting go of things, letting go of mindsets, letting go of attitudes, things that just don't. God is really trying to strip that out of you. God's trying to work things out of you. Um, it ain't going to feel nice. It is not going to feel nice. But stay with it. Stay with it. If it's one thing I can say, it's trust God. God knows the beginning to the end. God knows you. God created you. God knows exactly what you need. So a lot of the times, even the testing and the pressure and the trials and the setbacks and whatever it is, even the hardships, you may think you're not even capable of getting through it. But God knows that you can. God knows that you can absolutely get through it. And that's why God gave it to you. So keep trusting, you guys.